Well, welcome to another episode of the Area 210 podcast. I'm your host, Joe Garcia. Today I'm going to be joined by the one, the only, Jeff Garcia of 10-5 San Antonio. He is the lead Spurs writer, and he's also the host of a podcast that you might have heard of called the Locked On Spurs podcast. Welcome back, Jeff.
Yeah, and a show that you're kind of on a few times now once we get our schedules lined up.
Yeah. Once we do, I'll look forward to coming on and talking Spurs basketball with you. But you know that my schedule is usually booked at night because I'm busy working.
Making those bones. Joe, should anybody be surprised that I had issues trying to set up all this stuff here on the camera?
Not at all.
Yeah, nobody should be surprised.
Gremlins. We had gremlins, technical difficulties with Jeff before we got on and started recording. Full disclosure here. Doesn't surprise me one bit, though.
Nobody should be surprised at all, yeah.
You and technology, man, it's like oil and water. It doesn't go together.
At all. But hey, we got it to work. It's all that matters. And I know you want to talk some silver and black, don't you?
Yep. We're going to go ahead and talk about some San Antonio Spurs basketball. And there was a game that happened yesterday. Spurs faced off against the Jazz.
Yep.
And it's one of the worst teams in the NBA. They had only won one game. They were 1-7. Spurs came into this contest at 4-6. You would have thought that the Spurs would have been able to easily win this game. That was not the case.
Yeah.
Even with the return of one Devin Vassell, San Antonio Spurs fell to the lowly Jazz team, who now have 2 wins on the season, one of those being against San Antonio Spurs.
Of course.
Final score was 111 to 110. It wasn't even that close. It was just the last second three that was made by one Devin Vassell to get the game a little bit more interesting, but time had already expired when he knocked down that shot. So it was all for naught. I look at the stats here, Jeff, and I got to tell you, this game was disappointing to me because you know that the Spurs looked great, as far as how they scored. I'd like to see a little bit more out of Wemby, which, we actually got to see yesterday because we had the return of one Devin fell into the lineup, which Devin played 22 minutes on a minute restriction. He had 21 points on the night. Stephon Castle, I think, was his coming out game here, where he played a full 35 minutes. He scored 23 points. He looked great out there on the court. Victor Wembanyama kind of looked more like Wemby, played a total of 33 minutes, had 24 points on the night. Overall, your starters, they didn't look too bad. They looked okay. I mean, you still had Julian Champagnie out there. He played 25 minutes, only knocked down 5 points. Chris Paul, 27 minutes, only had 3 points on the night. You need a little bit more production out of your star point guard there. And he had 9 assists on the night as well to go along with the 3 points. Keldon Johnson didn't have a bad game, 14 points in 30 minutes. But overall, the Spurs just could not contend with the Jazz. And really what led to this game getting away from the Spurs, it was points in the paint and turnovers. Spurs had 20 turnovers to the Jazz 17. Those are still high. Points in the paint. The Jazz had 54 paint compared to the Spurs, 34 points. The Jazz were more of the aggressors. Spurs really couldn't do anything as far as, let's say, having anything as far as a defensive presence, to answer or counteract that. With the Jazz, at the end of the day, Jazz wind up finding ways to win. Spurs did not. What did you get out of this game, Jeff?
Yeah, just mistakes. I mean, you hit them all. The turnovers. For a moment, Sexton was kind of open, to get a good look at the rim, and although Chris Paul did close on him, but nevertheless was able to hit the shot with a clean look. You got just bad passes, turnovers, as you mentioned, and just getting beat in the paint. Didn't help out. Kessler and Markkanen are a handful, but you overall look at the team, and again, a game they should have won. So you have the return of Vassell, so he needs some adjustment period, so they get used to that. And then Wemby was being Wemby, having a monster game, near triple-double again. But you had guys that were off. Champagnie's shot was off. Harrison Barnes, what did he give you? About 10 points, I believe. Steph Castle, that's the thing, too. With Steph Castle, he gives you one of his best performances as a rookie, and it's wasted. Devin Vassell, after the game, he was very happy to be back on the court. I mean, he couldn't stop talking about returning to the court. But he also said he's upset that the Spurs didn't get the W, so he's chasing that. Overall, I think this is a game where Utah didn't come in looking like the team that's at the bottom of the barrel in the West right now. They came out a team that were ready to go. They were fired. They were being physical. You got Will Hardy on the other side. He knows the Spurs plays. You got still technically a rookie head coach with Mitch Johnson still trying to figure things out. And now that he's been thrust into the position. Nevertheless, look, it's a loss. You move on. But there's just a lot of cleanup work. It's just minimize the turnovers, defend the three, make your threes, utilize Wemby more in the paint, get him ready, get in positions where maybe he can dominate. I know he wants to be a face-up player, and the Spurs are going to try to make him that. But when you have situations where he can take advantage of smaller guys on him or put him in position in a pick and roll for a big-time jam, you do it. So overall, Joe, it was just one of those nights. Hopefully the Spurs can win tonight versus the Kings. The Kings are coming off back-to-back. The second game of back-to-back went to overtime yesterday versus Phoenix. So hopefully getting Sacramento on the right time or the wrong time for Sacramento will be good for the Spurs. Also, this is a team too that's missing the defensive anchor, Jeremy Sohan. A lot of those messed up defensive plays, Sohan could clean up. Now Wemby's going to have to be lifting more of the defensive duties without that aspect. Sohan there, and then at least on the offensive end, he has help now. It looks like Stephon Castle could be some help, and we know for sure Devin Vassell will be help on the offensive end. So right now it's just so much things going on, from injuries to the situation with Pop to Devin Vassell's return. So I think once everything settles down a bit, and hopefully the Spurs can find their stride.
Yeah, the thing with the Spurs, though, the conundrum to me is a lot of people are like, well, the Spurs are a lot better, than a lot of other teams in the West. Right now, the Spurs just proved they're not better than the worst team right now in the West, which is the Utah Jazz, because they winded up losing to them. That means that this team is not playing at a high level. I know a lot of Spurs fans have been very critical of the team since the get-go. And what did they really expect when the Spurs were playing against some of the better teams in the West? They were right around where I thought they would be. And if you were a realistic Spurs fan, you understood, hey, this is what's going to happen with the team. They're not going to come out of the gate just swinging, not going on an instant win streak here. They're right around where Spurs fans, if you were really coming down to earth here, you figured the team would be where they're at. Unfortunately, with this Jazz game, I thought the Spurs would actually win this because it's the game one of a 5-game homestand, which means they have 4 more games to play. But the biggest question I think Spurs fans have right now is the play of one Victor Wembanyama, and they have a right to be critical of him. We saw Wemby, and everybody thought, oh, we're going to see the worst version of Wemby in year one as a rookie. Now, when you're comparing the stats tell you a different story. The eye test might tell Spurs fans something different, but if you're looking at the stats, they tell you the story of Victor Wembanyama. Last year, he was averaging 21.4 points per game, 10.6 rebounds, 1.2 steals, and 3.6 blocks per game. This year, Victor Wembanyama has taken a little dip now. It's only a couple games in the season. When it comes to points production, his points per game, he's averaging 18.3 points per game, 10.2 rebounds per game, 1.4 steals, and 4 blocks per game. So his production as far as the blocks have gone up not quite a bit, but a little bit. But he's still not that bad compared to how he was last season. Now, I know Spurs fans have been very critical of him. They've been even asking the same question that a lot of us have been asking as well. And that is, why is he going ahead and facing the basket? Why is he becoming more of a perimeter shooter when he's one of the biggest guys out there on the court? Why doesn't he make his presence known inside the paint?
Yeah.
But the thing is that he's very thin, and for his frame, he doesn't have a lot of that girth to go ahead and contest with a lot of these guys down in the paint. You go ahead and you will, let's say, you're going to extend his longevity as a player if he doesn't have to have a lot of that, grounded pound game that Spurs fans are asking for. He's more of a finesse player, and I think Spurs fans have to go ahead and finally ask the question out of themselves. Is Victor Wembanyama more of a defensive presence and not so much the offensive threat that Spurs fans had hoped for? And that might necessarily be a bad thing. I think right now Victor is going to be a good player, but I think what we're seeing out of him is he's a good player on the defensive end. He's not going to be that guy where you all thought he's going to be knocking down 30 a night. He's going to be able to hit, all from, beyond the arc and just go in there and take over games right now. That's not the player that we're seeing. his refusal to go inside the paint, I think, is a detriment to the team early on. And the offense just doesn't look like it's flowing the way it should be. They still haven't figured out ways to utilize Victor Wembanyama effectively in games. Your thoughts, Jeff?
Yeah, I beg to differ. Heading into tonight's game versus Sacramento, he scored in double figures 6 straight games. He's flirted with triple doubles in the last few games. He is a defensive presence. There is no doubt about that. Ask John Collins, ask Lauri Markkanen. He blocks consecutive shots late in the game. He's just a threat defensively. Yay, give him the DPOI right now. At this point, offensively, I think they're still trying to figure it out. Could him facing up the basket be this year's experiment? Last year was Sohan at point guard. Could this year be Wemby facing up player? Maybe, but Wemby's embraced it. And he also shot down some naysayers too. After the loss versus Utah, he said, look, he goes, I'm not going to be shooting 66% all the time. I'm also not going to be shooting 25% of the time. He goes, we can't overreact either way. And he's right. You cannot overreact every way. If he's on, he's on. We saw that early in the game versus Utah. He was on. He was connected on the threes. But you see other games where he's like 1 for 5 or something and just taking perimeter shots. And I think the Spurs want to use him, frankly, in what today's game is, positionless. He can almost defend every single position. He can almost play every single position. Offensively, face up, yay, he can do that. Also on the offensive end, 3-shot, yay, he can do that. Where I have issue with him is, fine, if you're going to take some perimeter shooting, from the offensive end schemes, Wemby, could he at least develop a mid-range game? I think that's the next evolution for him, because he's either in the paint or out on the 3. He's not a threat in somewhere in the middle. You don't really see him take too many mid-range shots. I think that's the next evolution of his offensive game, is getting there. I think you're hearing, you're hearing buzzwords when it comes to Wemby's offensive production, like progress, production, work in progress, figuring things out. So I think they're still trying to figure out how to use them best offensively. I agree with you, though. I think if you have a Dylan Brooks on you, if you have a Lou Dort on you, you get them in that sweet spot under the basket and let them go to work. But what did Wemby say when he came into the league, Joe? I'm not a center. Don't pigeonhole me. I'm not this. I'm not that. And it looks like the Spurs are tinkering with that idea. So, it is frustrating. I'm with the fans. When you see a little guy on Wemby, take it to the basket, turn around. You just put your arm over him and dunk it. But we're not on that court. We don't understand completely what it's like. But for me, offensively, I think he needs to develop a mid-range game. If he can do that, kind of a Dirk-esque. Look, one of his favorite players that he's admitted growing up is Kevin Durant. Durant has that mid-range game going as well. So, throw in some videotape of Kevin Durant going to work. I'd be okay with that. Put on some videotape of David Robinson. He was a face-up big man, but he had a mid-range game. Put that on there too. So, Joe, I just think you're still seeing the team evolving with Wemby, adjusting to him as he adjusts to the NBA.
Yeah, but David Robinson's game was a bit different. David was an enigma when he first came into the league too.
Yeah.
Because nobody had seen a big man of David's caliber come in and be able to be as quick and as athletic as David Robinson. Even in today's NBA, if you were to play in his prime David Robinson, he'd be making some noise out there on the court.
Oh, yeah, for
Not
sure.
only with his defensive presence, but his offense as well. David did have a mid-range jumper.
Yeah.
He could knock down his free throws. And it was Mr. Robinson's neighborhood. David was inside the paint blocking shots and getting down and dirty. He would also play with his back to the basket and, go ahead and punish said players inside the paint. Something that Wemby is shown that they're not wanting him to do right now. They want more of a perimeter game. But if he is idolizing one Kevin Durant, the disparity between him and Kevin can knock down his shots. He has no jumper to speak of. I mean, this is Wemby year 2. You want to see some progress, and I think we're seeing some regression there early on, and that's, I think, what is really upsetting with Spurs fans is they want him to be that dominant player that I think they're all hoping that he can be.
But he is that dominant player. I mean, he's flirted with a couple of triple doubles already.
He's had a 5x5 game, but the thing is with him though, is I think Spurs fans want to see a little bit more out of him as far as the point production. While he does have good games, I'm not knocking him for that. he does have decent games out there. And what I was trying to say early on in the show is looking at the disparity between what he was doing last year, because he played all, was it 77 games, something like that. And this year we're only through a handful of games, and you're looking at the stats thus far. They're not that bad, which tells you, even though the eye test might tell you as a Spurs fan, oh, he's not looking as good as he did last year. The numbers game tells you a different story. I'm just saying at the end of the day, I think Spurs fans want to see a little bit more aggressiveness out of Wemby. They want to see him knock down some jumpers.
You know what this reminds me of, Joe? Remember David Robinson, the soft word? How many people would use that on him?
You know what? It's not just him.
It feels like it's going in that direction.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to tell you. I think right now, and I've said this too on the Alamo City Sportscast with Mike Jimenez that we do Monday through Fridays. It's at 10 a.m. to 11:30. I said that the Spurs at times play with no ganas. This team doesn't have any ganas. They don't want to play with that fire in them, man. This team right now is searching for an identity, and right now they're playing soft, in my opinion. I don't see that ganas. I need to see some dogs out there. I want to see some people getting at it, man. Because remember back in the day when they
lost their biggest dog with Sohan.
They did, but remember back in the day when they would play the Spurs intro music, right? And visiting team, the San Antonio Spurs. What was the music that we'll walk out to?
The Imperial March. Yeah, the Empire.
The Imperial March. Why? Because the Spurs had a reputation of being a physical team, and they said, "Oh, they're a dirty team."
Yeah, but that was a different era, man. Now it's all defense. You can't touch anybody. Well, I don't know about now. It feels like this season they've been allowing a lot more physicality. So
they have, but the Spurs have been on the not so good end of that. It seems like they get bullied. The Houston.
Well, I talked to Mitch Johnson about that, about upping, because remember, like early in the preseason and maybe early games, Popovich before he got sick kept on saying like, "Oh, we didn't match the physicality. Such and such team came out physical." So I asked Mitch Johnson recently about that, and he said that it's been trending in the right direction, and that it's good to be on not the receiving side of physicality. So that, the Spurs are aware of that. He even said that they are aware that that's the playbook on the Spurs, just get physical with them. So they're aware of it. So step one, awareness. Yay, they got that. Now they got to correct it. But Joe, so we're talking about Wemby outside shooting. So I was kind of looking up some numbers right now. So we know at the rim, he's devastating. He's dominant. He's shooting about 80% at the rim. So remember I was telling you about just develop a mid-range game if your three shots not falling, because right now at
15 feet.
Well, we'll get into. So he's taking, as of this recording, he's taken 71 threes, right? He's made 20 for 28%. Okay,
what's
20% shooting? Oh yeah, exactly. He's ZFG. But but look at the disparity though. So again, at the rim, nope, not a problem. He's just a giant. Okay. But then just between 3 to 10 feet, he's taken 18 shots. He's made 8, good for 44%. Okay, fine. He's close to the rim. We're okay. But look, as you start getting further away from the rim, between 10 to 16 feet, he's taken 10 shots. He's made 50% of them. Now deep in the mid-range now, 16 feet to right below the 3 line, he's taking 21%. And then we just mentioned the 3-shot, 28%. So that tells me he's either at the rim or he's at the 3 line. His middle game is from 10 to less than 10 feet to right below the 3 line. Is not good overall. If you're going to combine everything now, so from 10 feet, again, from right below the 3 line, he is 9 for 29. 9 for 29.
Doesn't surprise me, though. I've seen that already happening since I've been watching the game since the beginning of the season. What teams are doing is they're crowding the paint, and they're forcing Wemby to get into other spots that are less favorable to him. He has sweet spots that he likes to get to, and when they crowd the paint, usually it's like a triangle kind of a defense that they're playing in there. You have 3 defenders in there, and what they do is they're really crafty in how they play Wemby. So if it's a smaller defender on Wemby, it seems like he has a hard time trying to go ahead and move said player. So what they do is they put pressure on him and they're pushing him in the opposite direction where he wants to go. Usually it's at the hip. And again, like I told you, some of the nuances with Wemby, since the scouting has gotten really good, is the teams are scheming against him. Again, putting smaller defenders on him, having the double teams come out on him, not letting him get comfortable, not letting him get in any type of rhythm offensively. he's having trouble scoring inside the paint because they know that he can be a threat there. So what they're doing, they're trying to push him out even more to make him do what? Become a jump shooter. And again, you're saying some of the numbers there.
Yeah, the numbers, they show you.
Not very good.
Yeah, well, as far as jump shooting is concerned, as far as taking a jump shot, he's taken 106 so far. He's made 31. That's good for 29%. So he's not a good jump shooter at all. Again, at the rim, dunks, for example, dunks. He's taken 22 of them. He's made 18. So no surprise there. But then at the rim again, layups. So just making layups. He's taking 24 layups. He made 16 again, 67% there. So yeah, he's just either inside or out. No middle game, and I think that's the next evolution of his offensive end of things.
He needs help, is what he needs. And I think what the Spurs need to do is they need to get him in better position to shoot, especially inside the paint. What the Spurs
that's where Chris Paul is for.
No, and I'm just saying giving him the ball, but I'm saying he needs help, meaning that what you're looking at, what the Spurs do offensively, is they go ahead and dish the ball to Wemby, and everybody spreads out and they go to the three-point line. Give me the ball, I'm open. The problem with that is the Spurs are one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the league. They can't knock down their open jumpers. So if they can't knock down their open threes or uncontested threes, you think teams are going to even care to come out and guard them? No, they all crowd the paint. And in the meantime, you have Wemby over here going on a 101 or an ISO situation, and you have a double team coming. He's trying to go the other way. You got another double team, another triple team coming at him. He needs to get freed up. And he needs something to come out and set a screen, set a pick, maybe a little pick and roll action, between him and Chris Paul. Something needs to change as far as the fluidity that they have to their offense. They still revert to their old bad habits, and that's them capping out outside the three-point line and just letting Wemby go to work. And he's basically on an island by himself. I think that needs to change, and that is the disparity to his game early on. It's because there's no help coming out to assist him. Give the ball out to somebody else, set a pick, set a screen, let him get freed up, let him get a little bit of space to knock down an open jumper. That's not happening early on. Hopefully they can figure it out, though. But that's just something that I've observed. I'm not saying that Wemby's a bad player. I love Wemby, I just want him to see him get a little bit better out there. And I think Spurs fans are just very critical right now because they really want to see the team do better and they want to see him winning. But I think what we're going to get is kind of what we're seeing now. You win one, you lose two or three. You might win two in a row, then you lose another one. And it's going to be that kind of scenario that'll play out for the rest of the season. And what did Vegas say, Jeff? 32?
35. Yeah, 35? Max. 35, yeah.
I mean, this team looks like it's going to play into that 32, 35 win range, I mean, Spurs fans, it's an improvement. But I know that they have delusions of grandeur sometimes where they think this team is going to make the playoffs. They're going to be in the play-in. Hey, man, I'm all for that too. But really, at the end of the day, I'm a realistic Spurs fan as well. I just want to see him do better, and hopefully Wemby will have a better, season here than he did last year. But I think we as Spurs fans just need be a little patient with him. And we can't be too critical of the team. I mean, yes, you can voice your opinion, but you also got to understand that you have some new faces coming into the fray here. But you do like and see that the team is playing better. Don't you see that the team is playing better, Jeff?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're playing better. Defensively, I'm very impressed with them. We'll see how long they can sustain that, though, without Sohan out for a while. But that's going to take a hit, so no shock there. So nobody be surprised that some of the defensive numbers lose some steam because you're losing one of your better defenders. You're hoping Castle can come around on the defensive end. He's still getting the rookie treatment. It's expected from the refs. But, defensively, I've been surprised. And there was a couple games where I'm sitting there on media row like, wow, they're playing some great defense, especially Wemby. Yeah. By the way, speaking of Wemby, remember how everybody was saying, like, man, he can just develop a hook shot? A hook shot would be good, just something. As of this recording, he's only taking one hook shot, and he hasn't made it. Yeah.
Can you imagine if he had a devastating hook shot?
That'd be great. That'd be great. Nope. Yeah, that'd be great.
He's going to block it. He's so tall, I mean, I said even if he developed a fadeaway jumper 16 feet away from the rim, like a Dirk Nowitzki, kind of doing it off of one leg, going back, shooting that fadeaway, who's going to stop him? No one can block that shot. He's so tall. I mean, these little things are things I think he needs to add to his repertoire. He is the tallest guy out there. Use it to your advantage, and you'll be able to go ahead and make these teams come out and even, double, triple team you sooner. That way you can get rid of the ball and you get maybe one of your teammates moving without the ball, like Jeremy Sohan is so good at doing, and get that backdoor cut, an easy layup or an easy dunk. I'd like to see more of that, but Jeremy Sohan is hurt right now.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, he's not going to probably come back until 6 to 8 weeks, maybe is the consensus, plus his rehab.
Yeah.
In January.
Yeah. Well, friend of Locked On Spurs, Dr. Ryan McCorkle, he projects 6 weeks. So
6 weeks.
Yeah.
But then he has rehab, so I'd say add another 2 to that. So maybe December, end of December, January, might see Sohan.
Long time away without him.
And then he has to get back in shape. He's going to have to get himself in shape again. So he's going to have a couple games of rust there, but I'm looking forward to seeing him back in the fray. I wanted to ask you something, though, Jeff. I know Spurs fans have said, hey, this team, they're just, what does it look like as far as some of their better, let's say, offensive, let's say, groups that they like to put out there, right?
Okay, all right.
This is what I'm interested in seeing.
Sure. So we have some of the numbers up. So now we're looking at just the difference between offense and defense, the differential rating. So we're not going to include games where it's less than 10 or 10 or less. So for example, a lineup of Zach Collins and Keldon Johnson and Julian Champagnie and Blake Wesley and Chris Paul, they're a plus 200. We've only been together one time. So we're not going to do that one. So the most used lineup is Wemby, Barnes, Sohan, Champagnie, and Paul, basically your starting unit. Okay, those guys have been on the court at the same time for 157 possessions. Okay, they're a minus 9.6 as far as the differential. Okay, offensively, they generate about 102.5 points per possession. And according to Clean the Glass, that's for the 11th percentile. So they're not good at offensive force. But you go on the defensive end of things, now we're talking. That is an 89th percentile ranked, according to Clean the Glass. They hold teams to about 52% effective field goal shooting. Shout out Mike Jimenez. So that's a very good defensive lineup. Now, that tells you where some of the problems may come. Maybe that starting unit doesn't generate a lot of points. So perhaps Joe, the return of Vassell, can solve that because he did drop 21 points in his regular season debut.
Yeah, he did. When he returned, the floor spacing was a little better. You saw points production as far as Wemby goes go up a little bit more because now what happens is that Devin Vassell becomes more of that focal point as far as the offense goes. And I think that's what needs to happen moving forward is that Wemby doesn't need to be looked upon as that guy who's going to be the focal point of the offense. I think it needs to be somebody else, like maybe a Devin Vassell. That way it takes that offensive load off of Wemby, and he can still go ahead and get his points in the context of the game, and he could have like a 24-point outing, a 27-point outing, because he doesn't have to be that offensive threat. I think that's a lot of pressure added onto him, and I think his natural position is just wanting to play defense and being able to score in the context of whatever the opposing team's defense gives him. I think he needs to learn a little patience.
Yeah. Now, the best scoring lineup as far as points per possession, by the way, that's defined as points scored per 100 possessions played. So keep that in mind. Okay. That's actually a lineup of Wemby, Keldon, Champagnie, Malachi Branham, and Chris Paul. That's good for 176.2 points scored per 100 possessions played. So that seems to be kind of more of an effective offensive team there. That's good for an overall differential of plus 33. I'm sorry, plus 26, excuse me. And they played 21 possessions together. So maybe a small sample size there. If you want to go a little larger, we'll look at this one, 34 possessions together, which includes your guy, Zach Collins.
Oh, God.
Zach Collins, Keldon, Champagnie, Malachi, and Steph Castle. That's a plus 3.5 differential right there. And they generate points per 100 possessions played. Again, I got to stress that, 135.3. So, Steph Castle, Malachi, they've been pretty good scorers this season. Keldon's been giving you double-figure scoring production from the bench. Champagnie's been playing well from the three-line especially. So overall, again, it's really tough to dive into these numbers here. But there is proof that maybe that starting unit is not great offensively, but defensively, they definitely the cream of the crop here. I mean, again, 89th percentile. That's pretty good on the defending the effective field goal percentage. And they played 157 possessions together. So that's a good sample size there, Joe.
Yeah, and the good sample size, and it doesn't really surprise me. You have some of your better uh, offensive threats out there that can actually kind of knock down some shots there. But I bet you anything what they give us on offense, we kind of lose a little bit on the defensive presence as well. So it's a give and take. And I understand why they start with the starting five to give the team some balance, even though they might not be very effective when it comes to their offensive presence. But defense-wise, they're probably one of your better units out there on the court. So you have that, Spurs fans. But let's go ahead and kind of transition here a little bit, Jeff. And let's talk about some of the high points that happened this week for Spurs. I know one of them was seeing somebody that Spurs fans once used to welcome here, and it was fan favorite, was Lonnie Walker.
Yeah, Lonnie Walker, yeah.
The team, you had some news to share.
Yeah. Now, Lonnie was not in San Antonio because everybody knows he's playing in the EuroLeague right now, but his foundation, the Lonnie Walker Foundation, showed up. I found out that Freshmark Credit Union, who put on the Turkeys for Teachers giveaway, gave the Lonnie Walker Foundation and Lonnie himself a chance to get out, like not participate, and understandably so, because of his situation, not being in the NBA. But I was told that Lonnie told his team, nope, show up, be there for San Antonio. He still loves the fans. He's very grateful that the Spurs gave him his NBA break. I talked to Lonnie's father. Lonnie's father told me that they will never forget the San Antonio community and the Spurs because, again, for drafting him. So good times. Yeah, he donated a lot of food for the sides for Thanksgiving Day, like stuffing and, gravy, stuff like that. So they had boxes and boxes of it just everywhere. And they were just showing up. Teachers drive up, they get a bag and off they go. Lonnie Walker's father is he's a class act, man. He was just very into the spirit of things, dancing and making people laugh. So it was good to see them really giving back to the community. And Lonnie, again, he hasn't been a Spur for how long, and he still hasn't forgotten his NBA roots in San Antonio. And there might be other things coming from the Lonnie Walker Foundation and Lonnie himself. I'll just leave it at that, Joe.
There you go. So we have something that Jeff's teasing here. So
yeah,
we'll have him break the story on that probably next week. He'll probably put it up on his X where you can go ahead and follow him at Jeff.
Probably will.
So keep an eye out for that. But, some of the other things that happened this week, I know that the Spurs had announced that they are actually going to have a deal for Spurs fans. If you're looking to see that Austin game, they had some deals where they package in not only tickets, but also some exclusive merch. It was like a blackout T-shirt, and then they had like a long sleeve T-shirt. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, they want Spurs fans that are going to be going to Austin to wear a blackout shirt. Now, you're not going to be able to get them when you walk into the Moody Center. Okay, it's not like when at the Frost Joe where they have the tables and you just grab and go. No, this is part of a ticket package, and it's just a basic black shirt. It has a Spur on there. Austin is obviously emblazed there. The Spur itself, the little Spur on there, so you'll be able to get that for one of the games. Keep in mind though, it's going to be a celebration of Kevin Durant. Not because of Spurs, but because he is a UT guy. So just keep that in mind. So don't be surprised if it's like, why is Kevin Durant's face everywhere? That's what's going on. One of the bigger storylines into those Austin games. But they have like some concerts. They're gonna have a white T-shirt as well. They're gonna have a lot of stuff. They're making it very big for fans to take the drive from San Antonio to Austin, or if you're already in Austin, to enjoy that event. So it's gonna be fun. I'm hopefully gonna make the trip again. I've done it already for 2 years already. 2 years already. So it's a good time. It's the Moody Center is very, very nice. Not as big as the Frost, but it's definitely a college vibe in there. When you go in there, it's like, yeah, this is what a college basketball stadium should feel like. So just a lot of events, and there will be other events leading up to the Austin games, concerts, pop-up shops. So there'll be a bunch of stuff, and it's still a ways away. But as far as the big game, there's going to be 2 games. the Spurs are going to have everybody covered literally either in a black shirt or a white shirt.
Nice. I saw something too that you had released, and I thought it was kind of funny to me because we're coming into the ugly sweater weather.
Yeah.
So what's going on with the Austin Spurs here? I saw that they had like an ugly sweater voting night. It's going to be
it's not Austin. It's not Austin Spurs. It's the San Antonio Spurs.
Okay.
So basically, a bunch of the players, they drew up what an ugly sweater to them would look like, and whoever gets the most votes, that concept ugly sweater gets turned into a real sweater, which Spurs fans came out. It's very similar to, remember last year they did the Draw the Coyote T-shirt. Remember that?
Yeah.
So everybody did like their own attempt to draw the coyote, and then they put all of that into a T-shirt. Same idea here, except for an ugly sweater. So that's coming out soon, just in time of the holidays. Again, but I just want to stress, a lot of these T-shirts like this, they're either going to be at the fan shop or via a ticket package. So keep that in mind. Don't be going to the Frost and thinking, hey, where's my ugly sweater? I walked in. No, it's going to be part of a ticket package or at the fan shop. So yeah, Spurs are really having a lot of fun events as the holiday season gets closer. I did last week's Locked On Spurs on Friday. We had our new Merch of the Month segment, and we got to see the collaboration between the Spurs and the Alpine Formula Racing team. So they had a football jersey. I got my hands on one. It says Spurs and has the Alpine logo there. They have a cap. So the Spurs have a lot of merch that fans can go get. If you want to rep Spurs or Alpine or both, a racing team there, yeah, just go to the fan shop or simply just go online to spurs.com. You should be able to see it there.
Well, there you go. One thing that I've been looking forward to, and I know Spurs fans have as well, is we still got no announcement, though, when it comes to the Spurs City Edition unis. I want to see what that is going to look like. Spurs have been teasing something over the last week or so, saying it's coming, it's coming. Any word on that?
No, nothing. That's what makes everything kind of like nail biting, because the Spurs are pretty good about getting the official word out there. Remember the Primo situation, how fast that press release came out. But they've been kind of quiet about that. The Spurs players, like for example Wemby, have said that the team is communicating with the players about Pop's status, but most of them have not had a direct line of communication with Coach Pop. Don't know when. They use the keyword indefinite, so he could show up against the Kings, or maybe not months from now. You just don't know. So whatever it is, hopefully Pop's feeling better.
Hopefully he is feeling better, man, because again, I think the key word here was they said indefinitely he was going to be out. So they said it's a medical issue, and we don't really know. I know a lot of people like to put it out there, Jeff. They have sources.
Good Lord. And my favorite is stuff that the Spurs put on their YouTube page, and then they just regurgitate it. And then it's like, see, I cover the Spurs or something like that.
Yeah, the funny thing to me is when they go out there and they give these guys airtime, they get on the radio and stuff, and they're like, oh, I know what's going on with it. I'm like, nobody really knows.
I don't know,
It's it's like they call it the Spurs Mafia for a reason.
Or if you do know, you do the right thing and just zip it. This is a sensitive issue. This is somebody's medical, their health. So you don't do that.
Yeah, you let Coach Pop. I think he's earned the respect of the community here, and also the everybody in the NBA. If he wants to come out and say, hey, when he comes back, this is what's going on with me, that's up to him. If he doesn't want to share it, he doesn't have to. That's his prerogative as well. So I think just giving him some space, just sending him some good vibes, and if you got the Spurs candles, prende la vela, turn on the candle if you have it. Good luck, say a little prayer for Coach Pop, and when you see him back on the court again, just know, Spurs fans, that again, the end is nigh. It's coming here.
Everybody should. Yeah, even if he didn't get sick or whatever, but the end of the road was coming soon. So
enjoy it. Every game you see him out there, enjoy it, because
I still feel he should have dropped the mic when the big three all retired, or when he got into the hall. I think
during the 2014 run that they had, that would have just been it. He should have went out like Robinson, man. And said, I'm out.
Robinson did it right.
Yeah, that way they remember him as a champion.
Yeah.
But still, Coach Pop wanted to be here for the rebuild. He didn't have to. He chose to. So just go ahead and
Well, like he said a couple years ago, he said the checks are good. So if it's about the cash, I don't blame him. I don't blame him if it's about money.
Yeah, so as we bring the show to a close, I got to ask if this is going to be any good or not, because we're going to do a little bit of a nerd discussion here.
Sure, let's do it.
Rumor has it, and they put it out there, that they are working on a new Star Wars trilogy, Jeff. I know how you feel about the latest one. This one is going to have nothing to do with the Skywalkers at all. There's not a continuation, a totally original idea. The writer is actually very esteemed writer, so I have some hope for this. But you know what, man? They have to have some type of fluidity, a plan to this thing. They can't just go and, drop. I don't want to say it. They dropped the bag with the old one, big time. And I know you haven't seen them and you refuse to. And you know what?
I've only seen 2. I never seen the last one. I saw The Force Awakens. What killed it for me was The Last Jedi. That one just ended it for me. I said, I'm done.
Terrible.
I killed it.
What do you think? You think you got high hopes for this one, or Disney's
No, I don't. Until I'm proven otherwise. I had hopes for Disney when Rogue One was released. I said, all right, now we're cooking. This is what we want to see, a war story, a war movie. But after that, it's been downhill. Mando has been okay on Disney Plus. It's been all right. Book of Boba could have been a heck of a lot better. It took Mando to make his cameo to really up the level. Think about that. Boba couldn't hold it together and keep people in tune. There was some good stuff, about what was that one series? The Acolyte, but it was just more bad than good. At least we got to see. I guess he was a Sith, or they implied it. Just really being a Sith guy. I mean, there was some creative stuff. We got introduced to, like the ability to break the saber, like the laser port, to bust that up. I thought that was cool. I thought we got to see a legit Jedi Sith-ish fight to close the series. But then when you tease one of the biggest Sith Lords at the final episode and then announce, it's over, we're not going to do it anymore. That's just such a letdown.
It was, but hopefully, they can go ahead and rectify it and give us something.
I don't have hope. I don't have hope for it. Hey, you know what, Joe? If we're on the nerd thing here, I finally saw Transformers 1. It actually was pretty good. It was pretty good. I liked it.
It was more than all right.
It was way more than all right. It's not. It won't overtake 86. That's for sure. 86 is on a whole other level. But man, it was pretty good. I gotta say, as much as I was kind of having my doubts about Hemsworth taking over the voice of Prime, he did a pretty good job. I mean, look, you're never gonna duplicate Peter Cullen. It's not gonna happen. So but he did a good job. Now, the fall of Megatron, I thought that was really good. You see the seeds planting in his head and why he, went nuts. What happened to him. How he was able to get his army. It was actually. I'm not gonna say anything. Not gonna spoil it for anybody. But as much as you see it as kind of a kiddie look to it because of the animation they use, trust me, there's a very, very dark moment that Megatron does. It's pretty bad, and they show it. So, but overall, no, I thought it was pretty good. Again, it's not gonna nothing ever is gonna top 86 ever. But this was pretty good. I rather enjoyed it. I can't wait for Ready Part 2 because I think they already announced it that number 2 is coming. So,
yeah. Well, I got something coming for you too. This is your figure that I have made you. Remember?
Yeah, you sent me a text about that. Yeah. Well, now I know you did your 3D thing, but does it move? Like the arms move, or it's just like a statue?
Mary did. You can just set it on your desk. Part of your look.
Let me see it again. Let me see it again.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's Mando? It's Mando, right?
Mando.
Yeah. How do you make the colors on it though? Like how are you gonna do that?
That's the filament, man, that comes. That I have to buy and put in the 3D printers that are behind me here. One of them is down, man. I was printing out stuff because it was my son's birthday. Full disclosure here. So I had him going like crazy because I've been making burst chains and all sorts of stuff. So I burnt out one of the heater elements on one of the printers. I got a new one on order. It comes in on Monday. So I'm busy installing that and getting the printer up and ready to go again because I got to make some stuff people are ordering some things that I got to get out to them. And I'm also going to have some giveaways when it comes to giving away some of the Spurs chains and stuff because people really like those things, man. I don't know. So we'll give some out on some shows. Maybe we'll give.
I remember when you showed me them. I told you they were going to be a hit. I knew right away. I go, those chains were going to be a hit.
Yeah, I got them right. So this is one of the chains that we have that people like.
That's cool, man.
You see?
You should do it like an online store.
I would probably get in trouble if I do the online store because the Spurs
are cracking. I forgot about that. Like,
I'm not trying to get in trouble, man. I'm just a fan that likes to make stuff. And this is the prototype. This was the first one that I made.
Yeah, I did. Keep that one. That was for you.
Yeah. So I remember when we had our Spurs watch party.
Yeah.
The 1,000 subscribers that we had for the Alamo City Sportscast. I let some people wear them, and they really enjoyed wearing them. We had some giveaways and stuff, so it was a lot of fun. But they were like, "Man, it hurt to give them back." I'm like, "Well, there'll be some for purchase. I'll get you on the."
Do it on the down low. Do it on the down low.
Down low, man. Well, we'll
so you don't get in trouble.
Exactly. But hey, maybe we can give something away at Locked On Spurs as well when I come on.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, you gotta give me your schedule because I can't keep up with your schedule. It's just I know you're all over the map. So whenever time we find a spot, we're like, okay, let's see if we can make it work. But just let me know when you're free.
Usually,
I think when you're free, I think it's flipped because when you're free, I'm not, and when I'm free, you're not. So I think we just have it flipped right now.
Usually Fridays and Saturdays. Fridays after 9. Saturdays pretty much early.
9 a.m. or p.m.
p.m. after 9 p.m.
That's where the.
Yeah, exactly. And Saturdays pretty much all day.
Yeah.
But early, if possible, because usually by around 12 or 1, I'm out, especially around this time of year. Family has been all over the place. So we'll make it work. We'll find it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Even if we got to do an audio one, we'll make it work. Yeah,
we can do that.
Because that's still an option for Locked On Spurs. We do have the audio option if guests can't do video or just the time crunch is not working.
Yeah.
So, for example, let's just say you're busy, but you can't be on camera because maybe you're at work. You just hop on the phone and we'll do it like that.
Well, if you all still like to see Jeff and more of Jeff, you can always watch him on Wednesdays on the Alamo City Sportscast. He's usually a regular on Wednesdays, giving us the skinny on what's happening with the San Antonio.
I've noticed every time I come on, though, it just derails real fast. It's very like, so the Spurs won or lost, but, Jimenez showed off his legs on a picture on social media. What's up with that? It just deviates fast.
Yeah, well, you never know. They're always wanting to cook him because, he's Jimenez.
Yeah. Well, he does it to himself. He sets himself up so bad.
He does, man. But we're going to go ahead and bring the show to a close here. But where can they follow you on the X? And more importantly, how can they subscribe to the Locked On Spurs podcast?
Yeah. Subscribe at Locked On Spurs on the YouTube side of things. Also, Joe, just to let everybody know, we also have a newsletter. There is a Locked On Spurs newsletter. If you go to the Locked On Spurs YouTube page, just click any episode, the more recent one. So, I don't know when this comes out today. So either today's or last week, Friday. Just go in the description. You'll see it. It literally says Locked On Spurs newsletter link. So click on that, subscribe. It's like a companion piece to the show. And follow me on X at Jeff G Spurs Zone. I am the Spurs beat writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio, also host of Locked On Spurs. You can see in the background here. Fun times. Joe comes on there. Jimenez comes on there. We got a lot of friends that come on and just chop it up about the Spurs and whatnot. So I think I don't know when this airs, Joe, but I think like Casey Vieira, he'll be back. I think tomorrow. He's my colleague at Ken's 5. So we got a good rotation of guests to come on and give different views to the Silver and Black. So again, Locked On Spurs on YouTube. Go subscribe and follow me on X at Jeff G Spurs Zone.
And there you go. So you can follow us here too. You can follow us at Area 210 Podcast on the X, and you can also check us out here on the YouTube channel, which we post the videos. Make sure you subscribe to our little podcast here, Area 210 Podcast. So for Jeff Garcia, I'm Joe Garcia. Thank you guys for watching another episode of the Area 210. And like we always say, spread the love, stop the hate, be kind. We're out. Peace.